Andy's in Surbiton. Andy, good evening. What's your question?
Yeah, hi. We fell behind with our rent during COVID, and my girlfriend had a payment plan in place for the landlord. Unfortunately, she didn't keep up with it, which I didn't know anything about. But we've received letters from a solicitor saying that he's seeking repossession. I've spoken to him a couple times to see if I can come up with a payment plan and a solution. But he's got to get back on me on that. Now he's happy if we give up tenancy before the court case, because my concern is if it goes to court, there's going to be all the legal costs and court costs which we can't afford. So I just want to know where we stand, and the fact that I've kind of we're both liable. Yeah, no point has he had any communication with me to say that there's a problem with the plan that my girlfriend was on.
Yeah, and Andy, I'm sorry to hear that. Did you or your girlfriend lose your jobs?
My girlfriend was furloughed, and she had so the company that employer was South African, so they were saying, well, we're a South African company, so we don't have to pay you. So she wasn't paid for like 2 months until that was kind of they were told that actually you're in England, you can't do that. So there's a bit of a muck up with her pay and issues with like her getting universal credit.
All right. Have you actually been given notice of eviction yet?
We've received a letter which tells us that the sections that he's going for, and that, I think it's stating that he's going to hand the papers into the courts around about 7th of July, I think.
Fine. So you haven't actually... Oh, sorry. So have you been given notice of eviction? Notice of eviction is a letter saying it's typically 4 months at the moment to get out the property. They've got to give you 4 months' notice.
Yeah, this is what I was looking at. It kept saying on there you've got until the expiry date, but on the letter itself we couldn't find or understand the actual letter, so we don't know if it's...
All right, here's the first thing to do. Take the letter to an advice organisation such as Shelter, who are very good at this sort of thing, because they'll be more familiar with the language, because these things can be written in legalese sometimes. But there's 3 stages to an eviction. Stage 1 is they've got to give you notice. And although it's normally a lot less, at the moment, minimum notice for rent arrears is 4 months. If you owe more than 4 weeks, if you owe more than 4 months' rent. Do you owe more than 4 months' rent?
Yeah, well, it's £1,200 a month, and it's now up to 7,000.
Okay, so they've got to give you 4 weeks' notice. Once that 4 weeks' notice has expired, and if you haven't left voluntarily, then they have to go to court and get an eviction notice. That takes a few weeks, and then the bailiffs come in to evict you if you haven't left voluntarily by that stage. Now, there was a ban on evictions until the 1st of June, but that ban's now been lifted. Bailiffs have to give you 2 weeks' notice of eviction. They'll give you they'll warn you of the eviction date. They're actually not allowed to come in your house if you have symptoms of coronavirus. And if you have symptoms of coronavirus or a positive test, you tell them, and then they'll reschedule for another 2 weeks down the line. But eventually there will be an eviction. Be very cautious about leaving voluntarily. You said that you might leave voluntarily. Yeah. If you leave as a result of a court order, whether the bailiffs send you out or not, but if you leave as the result of a court order, then you are entitled to be rehoused by the council. But if you simply leave because your landlord has said, please leave, then you're regarded by the council as voluntarily homeless, and they're not under a duty to rehouse you. So although you shrink away from getting a judgment against you, and quite rightly so, you're actually better off, if you want to be rehoused, to wait until there's a judgment against you, an eviction notice.
So, because the thing on the letter, it states that he's had no communication with like either of us. But my girlfriend says she's got a trail of emails where she's
doesn't really matter, Andy. Because if you owe the money, you owe the money. If you haven't paid your rent, they're entitled to go to court and get a possession notice.
Okay. Like I said, at the moment, like I spoke to him on Thursday to so I put a proposal to him where I could pay off a lump sum then. Like commit to an additional monthly That was on Thursday, but I've not heard back from him at the moment.
Well, many landlords will do that deal, but of course, if your landlord has already entered into a payment agreement with your girlfriend and she's defaulted, the landlords don't really see the difference between you and your girlfriend. You're the tenants. And a lot of landlords, whilst they're willing to enter into one arrears agreement, they're generally reluctant to continue extending credit once someone's already defaulted on a payment plan. So I hope that goes okay, but there's little way of guaranteeing it. Let's just keep fingers crossed and see what they have to say.